Hello.
Am I audible now or not?
हाँ. Yes. थोड़ा कम है.
Okay.
But let us begin.
Okay. Yeah. I think there is a problem in the laptop. I'm just sharing my views in a mobile right now.
जी जी
Or I will just share my PPT
जी.
when I start my lecture. Sorry for inconvenience because at the time of joining, my laptop is get hang, and it's not possible to share my PPT over there. Uh,
Sure.
is it able to see the PPT to all?
जी.
Yeah, I think PPT is also visible. So without wasting the time, I'm just starting my lecture because we're just getting late by 30 minutes and we have to rush a more topic regarding the anatomy as we are lacking the time. So in this lecture, this is the basic and as in Excel sheet, I have not provided the page for this lecture because this is the collection of an things or terminology by the different books. Basically, I have referred three books for this because it is not collected in any text or any book of an combined manner. Basically, these are the hand which are presented by the BD Chaussure again and another author Halim and all. So, just starting with the first is the definition of an anatomy.
Sure.
Yeah. So the simplest things, what is the definition of an anatomy? It is a branch of a science concerned with an bodily structure of an human, animals, and other living organism. Basically, when we are discussing about the anatomy, we are just focusing about the human anatomy. But in anatomy, there is a combination of all bodily structure in human, animal, and other living organism also. I have just, in brief, I have just given an introduction of an anatomy modern anatomy over here. That is the Herophilus. He's the Latin scientist who is called as father of anatomy in modern science. And after that, Andrew Vesalius is a founder of modern anatomy. And first, am I audible to all now? Yes.
Yes, I can hear you. How about others?
Yes, very clear. Loud and clear.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So Herophilus, he's the father of an anatomy, and Andrew Vesalius, he is the founder of modern anatomy. Basically, in the history of anatomy, the first anatomist is a Galen. He is in the 2nd century BC. He just dissect the animals and just compare the anatomy of with an human beings. Because in that there is not permission regarding the dissection of an human beings. So after 14th century means 2nd century to up to 13th century, when the Andrew Vesalius started the dissection in the humans, all the anatomy which is correlated in the history, it is correlated with an animal. So at the starting, Herophilus is the father and founder of modern anatomy is the Andrew, one of the great painter we all know, that is Leonardo da Vinci. He is also the anatomist, and he is the first modern anatomist who just uh, uh, describe the anatomical structure and get it draw in a book. So Leonardo da Vinci, who is the painter of the famous painting of the Mona Lisa, he is also the anatomist. The anatomy is the Greek word starting with anatome and up. Okay, so it is the meaning having a cut up, means a complete definition of anatomy. It is called as a to cut up. So in the first, we are just going to describe what is the anatomy and what is the division of an anatomy. What we are going to study in nowadays in present era. First is cadaveric anatomy. It is related with an cadaver, which we are performing the dissection in the uh, dissection lab or practical lab. It is called as the cadaveric anatomy. Basically, for this we required a cadaver, and it is just difficult to get a cadaver because in nowadays it is not who are not aware about the organ donation or the body donation. So the mostly mostly the bodies which are getting to us are the unclaimed body by the hospitals, and we are performing the cadaveric dissection, and it is one of the most important things to study, because without the cadaver it is just impossible to focus to focus about the study. Then next one is the embryological anatomy. In this section we are just going to discuss the anatomy related with an embryological portion. मयूरी पानी के बर in this portion embryological anatomy we just deal with an embryo. Then in second, that is living anatomy. In this we are just discussing about the, or in this we study about the living anatomy. Generally in this portion we are just that percussion, palpation, palpation. When we visit a doctor, they are just tapping our abdomen or our the chest. There's a different kind of sound is produced in this portion. That is that all anatomy is related with a living anatomy. Basically when we count a pulse in a live individual, this also related with a living anatomy. Then histological anatomy, it is the study of an anatomy in microscope, means a tissue, microscopic tissue, the structure of each cell, it's studied in the histology. Then surface anatomy, it is one of the important anatomy which is important in the sense of surgery, where a surgeon have to cut a body and he have to present a organ where it is exactly present over there. So as per the surface anatomy, which is exactly which structure is present behind that structure, is included in the surface anatomy. Our next section is about the surface anatomy only, the landmarks, how to count how to see or palpable or visible landmarks in a body. So this is also a kind of study related with a surface anatomy. Then radiological anatomy, it is related with an X-ray, MRI, CT scan, which is which is commonly used in nowadays, because these are the structure where the radiological structures are used. Means X-ray, we are just using the radiological waves. Then most important structure, that is the comparative anatomy. Most of the time in this in the research section we are just comparing other species with animal. Most of the time in any research, medical research, we are just using rabbits then rats for the study, and we are just giving them a medicine and just try to say what are the changes occurring in the animal, and then just applied it into the human beings. So this kind of study is about the anatomy. It's related with an comparative anatomy. So research, this is again research oriented anatomy, and as I said earlier, the Galen is exactly doing the same thing in the second BC. He just studied about the animal and just applied this knowledge in human beings. Another structures, there is a few structures which are similar in the some animals and the humans are humans. That is related. One of that structure related with an our bronchus. That is bronchus, pulmonary bronchus. Then the tertiary bronchus and their branches. It's just equal to the goat. So when you are just studying that structure, you just compare with another animal. Then anthropology, it is also a structure related with an uh, measurements of an body. It's when going with an internal organs, you are just measuring organs by CT, MRI, and external by just measuring in centimeters and millimeters. So this anthropology, it's mostly used in a medical practices, because someone have find only the dead body, the face is not visible to them, then they can structure how from which races they are, because basically the dimension of a skull is different different races. So this is also the important anatomy which is used in nowadays. Then a clinical anatomy, it is related with a clinic or the applied things, means what we are studying in anatomy is about a normal structure, how the body is normally formed. But in a clinical anatomy, there is a disturbance of a normal structure, means we are just dealing with an study of an bone, and if it get fractured, so the fracture of that bone is related with an applied anatomy or the clinical anatomy. The most practice in medicine are with an clinical anatomy, and for the betterment of a clinic, for betterment of an clinical knowledge regarding the anatomy, you should must know about the normal anatomy. So clinical anatomy, it is also the subdivision of an anatomy. Then experimental anatomy, what I just say earlier, it is related and research as well. So it is also include some kind of comparative structures compared with other system and other and the lastly, that is the genetics. In this era, genes and the chromosomes are the most important structure for the development of an any structure in further process. The genetics is also the latest branch, means there are the several clones which are formed in nowadays in the lower animals, and they are just trying to find out the things how the organs or the structures are developed in the body. And by this genetics theory, they are just try to sort out if there's the amputation of hand or leg, so they are just trying to, after the amputation, by developing genes, they can form the structure as it is before amputation. So these are all about the anatomy which are just present in nowadays. Now uh, in further studies, what terminologies we have to understand, we are just focusing about that, what are the anatomical language usually present or getting difficulty for studying the anatomy. That is first one, that is the position. First, what is the normal anatomical position is that, that is the anatomical position. Anatomical position means we are just dealing with this structure when our face is looking forward along with our palm. Most of the time when we are standing, our palm is directed towards our thigh. This is the thigh region, but this is not exactly when we are dealing with the anatomical position. So this is the accurate anatomical position, that is face is forwarding towards front and palm is also forwarding towards the front. Okay, so this is the front forwarded corrected anatomical position. This is looks like a backward. Here um, the face and the palms is presenting towards the front. So this is the anatomical position, exact anatomical position, and it is next one, that's the supine position. It's the regular position in which our back is just lying. Yeah, yes.
No, so we're saying that Shavasana is the anatomical position, no? Correct? Shavasana is the anatomical position, no?
Yeah. In the Shavasana, we are just lying down in a back, and basically it is just forwarding with
Right.
forwarding hand. But Shavasana is compared in a supine position, because in anatomically it is we are standing over here, not lying down. In the Shavasana, we can just compare it in a and also we are doing the asana and it is in the supine position. So in normal supine position, back is lying down, and prone position is called as when you are just lying down, the face is directly towards the floor, our chest and abdomen is towards the floor, it's called as the prone position. Means normal anatomical position is this one, then supine position is normal uh, position when back is lying down to the floor. Prone is exactly opposite to the supine position, and the last position is the lithotomy position. It is mostly the operating procedure. This is the lithotomy position. It's just for clear understanding, I just take a picture over here. This position is performing while performing the delivery and during the anorectal operations. Here the knee and getting flexed, and this position is called as a lithotomy position. So Normally there is a 4 position, that is the anatomical position, supine prone position, and the lithotomy position. Then the terms used in anatomy, these most common terms which are just getting repeatedly getting this term when discussing the anatomical structures in regarding to the muscles, in regarding to organs and other systems all there. So where anterior and the ventral, anterior means it's towards a face, this one is called as the anterior portion, and just opposite to that, that is called as posterior portion, means the back. In while looking this picture, this is the anterior one and this is the posterior one, where anterior it's also called as a ventral, posterior it's also called as a dorsal. Then next terminology commonly used in the anatomy, that is the medial and the lateral. Medial means it's towards the midline. What is the midline? If you are just focusing, this is our body and this is our midline. Okay, from the we're just dissecting our body to from the tip of the nose, though exactly towards the midline. When the structure is towards the midline of an, it is called as medial, and if it is away from the middle, that is called as the lateral. These structures are important while relating the other organs or the arms. Basically in the arms, forearm, the two bones over there, one is towards the thumb and another towards the little finger. When we are standing in anatomical position, the bone which is towards the thumb, it is away from the midline as compared with this bone, means compared with a little finger bones. So this bone is lateral and this bone is medial, as it is they are related with an medial one. So this is the medial side of an body, so this is lateral and the medial. Then superior, inferior, it's just similar to the name. The structure which is superior means at the superior aspect. Just I think this cranial and caudal, it's the anatomical portion which is present in the body. Cranial, it is related with an cranium, that is the brain, and caudal, it is related with an tail portion. Basically there is no tail in the human beings, but it is generally used that we have a tail that is related with an coccyx bone on all. So that caudal and cranial, these are the terminologies oftenly used in the anatomy. Same upper and the lower, this is the simplest one, as we know, superior and inferior and upper and the lower. Just we have to remember the cranial and the caudal also. Then superficial, as it is lies superficially, that is the superficial. Then simplest one, that is the deep, it's just opposite to the superficial. Then ipsilateral means it's uh, towards one side, contralateral towards other sides. Then invigilation and eversion. Invigilation means it's inner side in evigilation, that is outer side, means there is a sussection of intestine. Just look like what is called in the appendix, which is attached to the cecum. If there is appendicitis or the increase in the size of an appendix, that is called as an invasion. Okay, and evasion. And in invasion, there is the if you are just seeing a balloon over there, and we can just press a finger in a balloon, so that structure which just go inward, that called as an invasion. Okay. Then flexor and extension. Flexor surface, extensor surface, they are the different in the forearm and forearm and the leg. We will discuss in the when we're discussing the muscles. Just what is the flexor? They are just decreasing the angle of a surface, and in extension they are just increasing the angle. Means this is our forearm, we're just bending our elbow, this is the flexion, and when we're just extending it, that is called as an extension. Means the angle which is just lowering the angle, that is flexion, and just major angle, that is called as an extensor. Then proximal and distal, this terminology is commonly used in a limbs. Proximals, it is related with a nearer one, and distal is related with an distal end. Okay, so this is also the easiest terminology which is commonly used in a anatomy. Then a planes. Mostly these three planes are commonly used for the dissecting purpose, that is sagittal, frontal, and transverse. Sagittal, in this as we're discussing, this is the midline of an body. If a plane divides body into right and left half, it is called as a sagittal section. Means a body, we are just dissecting the body in this manner. To by this the body is divided into two segments, that is left and right, that is called as a sagittal section. Then in coronal section, the body is divided into anterior and the posterior. Means if I'm dissecting my body like this, means there's a my face is get anteriorly dissected and back portion is posteriorly. So in coronal section, it divides the body into two segments, that is anterior and the posterior. Sagittal section, it divides body into the right and the left one. Transverse, just it's like a transverse section of an anything, any organ and all. So this is called as a transverse. Other than that, we have a mid sagittal section. Mid sagittal section is called as an exactly at the mid mid of an any structure. Then another planes that is called as an oblique, means while dissecting or while studying any section, we have just take a cut like obliquely, that's called as an oblique plane. So basically these planes are usually studied in anatomy, and other than that, for dissecting purpose or the surgery, we can just cut
So
by their
transverse, I
convenience
have not
by
understood transverse.
procedure which is mentioned in the operating.
Transverse.
Yeah, transverse is the upper and the
I've not
superior and the
understood
inferior.
transverse plane. I've not understood transverse plane.
Okay, actually the transverse plane means it just we're dissecting it transversely, means in superior and the inferior section. Means in sagittal we are just left and half, left and right. In coronal, anterior and the posterior. And in transverse is just a horizontal plane, just a horizontal cut to the any structure. Means if you are cutting up body from the umbilicus, so it has in two sections. We have figure in the next one. This is sagittal, that is right and the left. This is coronal, anterior and the posterior, and this is transverse, means upper and the lower segment.
Okay.
Yes, is it clear?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir. Thank you.
Then next
Yes, sir. Thank you.
next commonly terminology which is used in a clinical anatomy, and nowadays we are just using this terminology. The first one, the itis. It is related with the inflammation of any structure. Just for example, conjunctivitis. It's commonly occur in the eyes, infection of an eyes. That is the conjunctiva. It is a structure, and itis, it is the inflammation. Same with that appendicitis. Means appendix is an organ. Itis, it is related with an inflammation. So this is the common clinical terminology. Ectomy means just completely removal of any structure from the body. That is hysterectomy. That is the removal of hysteria, that is the uterus. Or appendectomy means removal of an appendix. That is the ectomy. Otomy, that is the opening of any cavity, and just after the operation just closed it. That is otomy. Then ostomy, it is just the opening of the cavity, and then it just remain open after the operation also. That is called as an ostomy. Oma, it is related with a tumor. That is the sarcoma, leukoma. That is the common terminology used in the clinical anatomy. Symptoms, they are related with what we feel. Signs, what doctors seen. And these the structures. Symptoms means when we are seeing that we feel we does not feel well, we just trying, we have a burning sensation over the eyes, abdomen. That is the symptoms. When doctor looks like our icterus, what or the near the uh, near the eye, it's just like a pale. That is the sign. Diagnosis, it is the perfect word used for the disease, what we are having a disease. So this is the common terminology used in the clinical anatomy. Basically, when we are discussing about the clinical factors of any structure, means muscles, bones. So these terminologies are oftenly used. So this is itis, ectomy, otomy, ostomy, oma. Then sign and symptoms and diagnosis. Then next, the terms which are commonly used for the movements of a joint. That is gliding movement. First one means it is just a movement that is to and fro, just moving to and fro. Just their surfaces are the plane surfaces of the joints, and just move the other to and fro. That is the gliding movement. Then angular movements, they're having the division of angular movements, just as have said that flexion and extension, there's a increase of decrease angle in the flexion, increase of angle in extension. So these are the angular movements. Rotation, this is the complete movement of an joint in a rounded manner, that is rotation. Then adduction, it is the movement of an joint towards the midline of an body. Means I am here, so this movement towards the midline, this is the adduction. And when we are just go away from the midline of an body, that is the abduction. So adduction towards the body, abduction away from the body. Circumduction, it is the movement of all these angular movements, that is flexion, extension. Means if you are doing just showing the shoulder joint over here, and these all movements mean flexion, extension, rotation, abduction, adduction, and complete movement is called as a circumduction. So these movement related with an other joints also. Then medial rotation. Okay. Then next, that is medial rotation and lateral rotation. Again, these all movements are not present in all joints. As in the latter section, where I just listing about how the joints, the types of the joints and all. So medial rotation and the lateral rotation, it is also related with an shoulder joint. When we are discussing the shoulder joint in detail, then we are just dealing with that. Just I am showing now. Just flex your elbow, and this movement, it's a medial rotation. It's towards the medial end, and these movements, it's towards the lateral. So this is called as a lateral rotation. Medial rotation and the lateral rotation. So this is about this movement is in a shoulder. Then next, supination and pronation. This movement is in a radioulnar joint. Means our palm is our at the upper segment, that is supination. When just we are moving this downward, that is the pronation. This is supination, this is pronation. These movements is commonly happen when you are just taking our lunch or dinner. We are just breaking our chapatis. This is when just going with head down and break our chapati and just going upward with the mouth. In this, there is the movement called as supination, pronation. This is pronation, this is supination. Then dorsiflexion and plantar flexion. There is another region in the body, that is the dorsum and plantar. The dorsiflexion and plantar flexion, these movements is pressed in an ankle joint. So here, the upper segment of an ankle, that is the dorsum, and lower segment of an sole, that is the plantar. So here, the only two movements are there, that is dorsiflexion and the plantar flexion. I will show this picture to you. Last one, eversion and eversion. This is also related with an ankle joint or wrist joint, that is inversion, eversion. Just movement where just doing with the ankle and the wrist joint. So this is the pictures related with that. This is abduction away from the body, adduction towards the body. Circumduction means all movements of an annular thing. Here, supination, pronation, just movement of an radioulnar joint. This is the dorsiflexion. If I just looking with that, this is the dorsum of an foot, and this is the plantar one. So this middle structure, that is the normal structure. When we are just flexing our dorsum to the upper side, this is called as a dorsiflexion, and this is plantar flexion. Mostly when there's a two type of a joint, they are called as a flexion and extension. But in a ankle joint, there's both at the both end there is a flexion. One, it is related with an dorsum, and another is related with an plantar. This is inversion, eversion. This is also related with an ankle one. Inversion towards the midline, eversion that is away from the midline. Then a movement that is retraction and protraction is also, it is related with an mandible. When you can anything or just taking a food, we have and that movements over here. Then positions of an thumb, means if you are counting, just look at the thumb. This is extended one. It's just go away from the body. This is flexion, okay, of an thumb. But when we are counting a figure, numbers by in our fingers, so this is the opposition of an thumbs, means just movement of an thumb with each of an finger. So this is the opposition, means other movements are the same, that is extension and the flexion. I'm just saying the terminology over here. In the latter section, we're just dealing in detail of an joint. Then we're just again focusing about this structure. at what which muscles is involved in flexion, which muscle is involved in extension. So you have just clear about this terminology. We have to just clear about the here, what exactly the flexion means, what exactly the means. So this is all about the movements of a joint. This is again some movements. This is the flexion. Uh, different joints. So we are discussing it in again by dealing with enjo. So this is again figures were there. Then a classification of bones. This is all about terminology which is used commonly used in a bones or anatomy, and we will face this analogy in throughout a year when we're just discussing the anatomy. Now regarding the bones, what are the bones present over there, how they are classified. So this is about the class the bone. It is a Greek word uh, osteopathy, osteology. uh, this is osteo, it is wraith and bone. This is the Greek word. The complete anatomy, it is in a Greek language or Latin language, because the Galen, who is the first anatomist, he is the Greek scientist, and the Vesalius, which is of modern anatomy, he is a Latin scientist. So all the terminology which is mentioned in anatomy, it is either in Greek or in Latin. Then they are developing that terminology in the other sections. So his Greek bone, it is a Greek word, that is the osteon. So most of the time this osteon, osteology, osteometry, this is related with an bone only. There is a three types of cell which forming the bones, that is the osteoblast, osteocyst and osteoclast. Blast, it is related with an forming cells. Basically they are just contradictory segment. When you are just considering the blast, it is deforming, okay, means they are the bomb blast and all. But here the osteoblast, it is related with an bone forming cells. Osteocysts, they are the cells which are developed by osteoblast cells, and here they are the developing cells, means they are just develop the other structure of an bone, and they are surrounded by the matrix of which are produced by itself. So this is also related with an forming, that is osteocysts. And the last one, that is osteoclast, means they are the cells responsible for the breakdown of an bone. The process is called as the bone resorption, means as the age progresses, there is a degenerative changes in a body, that is called related with an osteoclast. So starting with an cells of an bone, that is osteoblast, osteocyst and osteoclast. Then classification of bones. If if someone thinks that I'm just going fast, so you can just ask me the question in a mid section only, because we are just having lots of things to discuss. So just ask anything if you are thinking that I'm just going fast, okay. So next, a classification of bones. Basically the bones are classified. There are 206 bones. They are composed of in a adult skeleton. It is as per the modern science. Basically in the Ayurveda there is a controversy regarding the number of bones. Acharya Charak has said that there is 360 bones in a body. Acharya Shushruta said that there are 300 bones in a body, and modern they are just saying that 206 bones. But all are right in their places. Basically in the modern anatomy, the teeth are not included in the bone, nails are not included in the bone. But in an ancient science that is related with an Charak and the Shushruta, these structures also they count in a bone, because this is the heart structure which are present in the body. So there is a controversy in the numbers, but they are all are the same. Then classification, it is all about the shape, development and the structure. We're just going one by one. According to the shape, there are the long bones, short bones, flat bones, irregular bones, sesamoid bone, pneumonatic bones, and the accessory bone. In the long bones is one that is cylindrical in shape, being a longer than it is wide. Okay, so these are the bones which are generally placed in the limbs, because they are the longer in shape, general not as much wide as compared with that. The long bones are found in arms, that is the humerus, ulnar radius, legs, that is tibia, fibula, then as well as in the fingers, that is carpal and the carpals and the phalanges and the toes. And the long functions as a lever. They are useful movements and the contraction of an anything. Means when in the process of walking, there is a flexion of knee, extension of hip. So this process, this long levers attachment of a muscle. Then short bones are short bones like a cube-like structure, being approximately in length, width, and thickness. Just like a cube, as I said, but it's not exactly the cube. They are approximately same. They are the short bones in the humans. That is the carpals. They are the present in the palm, carpal. Then tarsals. They are present in the ankles. So they are the short bones. Short bones provide the stability and support as well as some limitations of the movement. They are having a movement over there, but they're having a restrictions. They are not has a movement like a long bone. So they are the short bones. Next one, the flat bones. As per the name, the bones are the flat one, resembles like a shallow plate, forming the boundaries of the cavity. Usually, the scapula, it is the flat one. Then hip, it is also included in irregular as well. We can just say the part of an hip, it is the ilium, it is the flat. Then sternum, that is the breastbone present over here. Just sternum is get cut when bones, that is the curved bone or all. But when seeing structure of an ribs, that is also a flat one. So this is included in the flat bone. Flat bone serves as a point of attachment for the muscles and often protect the internal organs. Means this which has a present on the bone, the flat bone. Next one, regularity. It has a characteristic, it doesn't have a shape and the length. It is that is included in a hip bone. If you are just looking with an hip bone, the upper part has a flat one, lower part has a pit called as for the attachment of the femur. Then other structure having in the elevations and all. So this is an example, or as it names, it is a irregular one. Then sesamoid bone, it is one of the kind of bone which is not present at the starting of an development, but it is developed in a tendon of a muscle. So this commonly known sesamoid bone, that is the patella, which is present over the knee joint. If you are just palpating our patella, just go down to the patella, there is forming a thread-like structure that is called as a ligamentum patellae. This is the tendon, and this is formed by the fusion of four muscles, that is vastus medialis, vastus lateralis, vastus intermedialis, and rectus femoris. Again, this is the muscles of an anterior compartment of thigh. We will discuss this later on. But these four muscles get inserted by forming a tendon called as a ligamentum patellae, and in that tendon there is a development of a bone called as a patella. This is the commonest sesamoid bone. The sesamoid bone is a small rounded bone that has a name suggested, is shaped like a sesame seed. Okay, so these bones forms in a tendon. I'm just telling that patella is a sesamoid bone, but there are several bones which are present in the body. And again, patella is the commonest one. Other sesamoid bone are not usually found in all mammals or on human beings. Patella is the commonest sesamoid bone. Next, these are the example of the bones. This is the irregular, that is the vertebrae. This is the sternum. This is femur. This is the patella. These are the tarsals present over the ankle. Okay. Then pneumonetic bones. They are the certain irregular bones containing large air space lined by the epithelium. Means in a bone there is a cavity for the air cavity present in the bones. It is mostly present in the skull. If you are just going with an sinusitis, a patient of an sinusitis, there is a sinus. These are the cavities often around the nose, that is called as a paranasal cavity. They are present over the maxilla, sphenoid, ethmoidals. These all bones having an air cavity. Basically, they are for lightening the weight of a skull. Then they are helping for the resonance of one voice. When you are just saying someone sing by their commonly, you are just at the starting when Mesh Reshmiya came for the singing, you are just saying people have saying that he's just sing through the nose. Basically, these they are not singing through the nose, but it has a resonance of that voice by this paranasal space of maxilla, which is present over here. Caudal and spinal just upper side, inner side of an eyeball. Here they are the frontal sinuses. Means when you are suffering from the rhinitis, mostly when you are visiting a doctor, as they are trying to press over here, just above the eyebrows and just lateral to the nose. So just at whether your rhinitis turn into the sinusitis. Basically, they are the openings of this cavity through the nose. So the mucus secretions of a nose just goes to that air cavities, and if they are trying to press over here and we are getting a pain, so they are just considering that you are just having a sinusitis over there. And then it acts as a air condition for the chamber of inspired air. Means they are having a mucus secretion, having a mucus membrane over there. When we just inhale, they are just act as a air condition. Means you are taking a warm air by a nose, they are just cool down and then it transfer to the lungs. And if you are just taking cool air, just going to warm it and then it transfer to the lungs, then it improves the quality of voice. So this is the pneumonitic bones. These are the sinuses which are
डॉक्टर आपकी
present over there. This blue color sinus, that is the maxilla. This is the front, and this is, yes.
आवाज नहीं, सॉरी पिक्चर नहीं दिख रही है, वीडियो आपका नहीं दिख रहा है.
Sunil bhai, we can see.
ओ अच्छा, मुझे नहीं दिख रहा. So sorry. Okay, please carry on. Please carry on.
Okay, this is, yeah. So this is a maxillary sinus. This is the maxilla. This is the frontal sinus. That is the frontal bone present over here. This is caudal and this is the spinal one. When we are just discussing the skull again, we will just going with this portion again. So these are the sinuses just present over the face. Next one, accessory bones. They are not present always, but they are present in the body, so they are called as an accessory bone. Most commonly, accessory bone that is related with a rib, that is called as a gorilla rib. Some persons have the extra rib. Mostly in the normally we have 12 pairs of a rib present over the body. Having a cervical rib present or of 13th rib at the lower side, that is accessory bones. Mostly the sutural bones of the skulls. The skulls having the joints called as the sutures, and there is a bone in that suture, that is the sutural bones, but they are the accessory bones present in the body. They are not oftenly seen in the body, but they are present, so it is also the different category of the bones, that is the accessory bone. So this is all about the shape. Just I am repeating the names of all shapes again, what we are just going to discuss. That is long bone, short bone, flat bone, irregular bone, sesamoid bone, pneumonitic bones, and the accessory bone. Okay, next, that is related with an developmental classification. What we are just earlier discussed, that is the classification according to the shape. Now this is the developmental classification of an bone. First one, that is membranous. As per the membrane, as per the name, it's ossify, means it start to develop in a membrane, so it is called as a membranous. Mostly these bones are present in the skull, mandible and the maxilla. They are the membranous bone. Then cartilaginous bone, they are developed from the cartilage or endocartilaginous structure. For example, they are the humerus and the vertebral column and the thoracic cage. Then some bones are developed by the membrane and cartilage both, so they are called as an membrocartilaginous, that ossify partly in the membrane, partly in the cartilage. The example is the clavicle, and other bones, the mandible, as we seen, it is in the membranous structure also. So this is partly cartilaginous and partly membranous. So three types of classification of bones according to the formation. Then again, by the structure, that is macroscopic, and microscopic. First one, macroscopic. Here the compact and the spongy bone. Compact means, as per the name, they are dense in a structure, and but they are the porous one. Spongy bones, they are open in structure and formed by the meshworks. They are forming just by mesh like structure, rod and plates. So that is also a microscopic structure, or it is also related with the formation of an bone. Compact and the spongy, that is microscopic. And then microscopic, it is the microscopic structure which is present in the bone. First one, the laminar, it is related with an plate which is present in a bone. Then woven, this type of bone is present in a fetal bone, means for the fracture, if you are just having a fracture in a bone, then if you have a fracture in a small quantity, means there is a hairline fracture over there, so it can be repaired by itself, but it requires some time. So that bone fracture repair, it's related with an oven bone. Same in the cancerous stage. If you're having the bone of cancer of an bone, so you having this type of cells over there, that is the oven bone. Then fibrous bone found in a young fetal bone, but they are commonly in the reptiles and amphibians. They are not seen in our human animal. Then dentine and cementine, these structures are micro inner teeth, normal structure of the teeth, dentine and cementine. Okay, so this is all about the microscopic structure. Then the terminology which are related with an bone, they are the first one, osseous, then prefix osteon, I just describe it. Then a bone including the term foramen to describe a hole. Canal meatus, I am just using this terminology here. What are the terminology mostly seen in a bone? First one, the elevations. There's the three types of elevations: linear elevations, that is line. In a bone, for the attachment of the muscle, there's the tubercle elevations, ridge present over there. The line, simple line is there, the spiral line is present in a tibia. We can see another structure, that is a prominent anterior border of an tibia. Just go palpate your legs, just below the ligamentum teres or the tuberosity, tibial tuberosity, you find a prominent structure over there, that is the anterior border of an tibia. Okay, so that just behind that there is a spiral line in the tibia. Crest, it is related with the hip bone. We can it again palpate to near the lumbar region, near just when we where we just tie up our belt. So that is the related with an crest. Ridge, it's again a linear elevation present over the body. Then rounded elevations which are common present over the body. First one is the tubercle. As per the rounded, they are the shapes, they're having the different name according to the shape. Tubercle, they are the small rounded elevation, just above the rounded elevation there is the protuberance. Then again they are having a larger size than the tubercle, they are called as the tuberosity. Then the malleolus, they are present over the tibia and the fibula. Then trochanter, this is the rounded elevation of maximum size. Tuberosity is up to the moderate, tubercle it is up to the small size of rounded elevation. They are the terminology used for the rounded elevation, but according to the size, this different terminology used in a different bones. Then for the shaft elevation, that is the spine or the spinous process having they are present over the vertebral column. Then spine, it is present process, it is present in a scapula. Spines are present vertebral column. We can palpate that structure. Then thyroid process present just behind our ear or ear lobule, is related with an portion of an temple bone. Okay, that is the sharpest elevation. Then expanded end for articulation, the commonly terminology used, that the head is related with all the long bones. Then epicondyle, it is related with elevations for the articulation. Epicondyle, it is the structure, that is the elevated structure of an condyle. Again, this is the part of an bones. We will discuss this terminology when they are coming with us. Then small flat area called as an facet. This is for the attachment of an another bone. Means if you are comparing the radioulna, this is the radioulnar joint present over there. Here the ulna is attached to the radius in a circular groove or a facet, that is a small flat area, that is called as a facet. Then some bones having a difference. They are called as a notch first, grooves, or sulcus, and the fossa. They are again the same terminology used in a different ways as per their shapes. The last one, the openings, they are present in a bones. Basically, they have the several bones having the openings. Transmission of an artery, veins, nerves. First one, the fissures, means here the in the bone is just like a slit. It's not a big opening, it's just like a slit. Basically, it is present just behind the eye orbit. It is just having the transfer of optical nerve. Then foramina, it's just a rounded opening present over in a bone. Then a canal, it's a tubular opening present in a bone. So there is several canals are present in a body. Then meatus, they are the opening in the canals. Means when some structure is just passed with an canal and it just entering a different structure, having the opening called as the meatus. It is present in a mid portion of an ear over there. So these are the openings and the terminology used for the openings. These all terminology when you are discussing, all terminology is only used when you are discussing the bones. So they are repeatedly in another section. This is all about the bone. In the starting, we are just using the terminology, then bones. Now, the next portion that is related with an Sandhi Sharir, that is orthology. Sandhi, it is means joints. Ortho, it is related with an joints. The terminology which is commonly used in the joints, I am just saying the movements of an joints, that is flexion, extension, and all. We are already discussed about that. Now we are just going with an classification of an joint. These are the several joints which are present in the body. Again, these joints we will discuss in later section in a detail, because in most of the yoga and asana, these movements of and these joints is important one. This is the shoulder, elbow, wrist, hip joint, knee joint, ankle joint. Then this is the collarbone. So these are the joints present in the body. Starting with a classification of a joint, they are structurally classified into three types, that is fibrous, cartilaginous, and the synovial. Fibrous, as per the structure of an fibrous tissue, then cartilaginous, as they are having a cartilage present over there, and next one the synovial. This is as per the structure. As per the function, synarthrosis, amphiorthosis, diarthrosis. Synarthrosis, that is immovable joint. Amphiorthosis, that is movable joint. Diarthrosis, that is freely movable joint. Okay, so this is the classification according to the function. We're just discussing the examples of these joints for better understanding. First one, classification according to the structure, is present a fibrous joint. Where it is exactly present? So these are present in the sutures of the skull. This is a fibrous structure which are present and they are just joint. Again, these are synarthrosis. Syn means immovable. Skull ke joints, they are not movable to each other. Okay, they are fixedly attached. If they are just getting movable, so they are having fracture over there, or a clinical terminology is hydrocephalus like condition present over there. Then syndesmosis, it is the interosseous ligament. Syndesmosis means this ligament is present in radio ulna. Means for the supination and pronation, we are having a joint at superior radio ulna and inferior radio ulna structure, and entire radius and ulna is attached with an ligament, interosseous ligament. That joint is called as a syndesmosis. Then gamphosis, this is also immovable joint and this is present in between teeth. Then cartilaginous joint, syncordosis and symphysis. I think I have a picture of this also. This is synarthrosis, that is immovable. Synarthrosis include all these articulation in which the surfaces of the bone are in almost direct in contact. They are the sutures, syndesmosis, gamphosis. Here these are the pictures, sutures. These are the sutures. They are plain sutures and serrated sutures. They are the just type of sutures. Then these are present in a skull. Then syndesmosis. Here I am just giving example while giving the example of radioulnar joint, but it is also present in near the ankle joint. Articulation in which the thin plate of an bone is received into the cleft of an fissure formed by the separation of two lamina of another bone, that is synarthrosis. It is also immovable. Then gamphosis, it is present in between tooth and alveolar process. So upper alveolar, lower alveolar process is related with an upper segment, that is the maxilla, lower and that is related with a mandible. And here is a joint of an tooth with and that alveolar process. It's called as an gamphosis, and it is also immovable joint. In clinical anatomy, it is slightly movable if you're having a trauma over the jaw or the mandible, and as age progresses, this joint getting slightly movable and all the tooth were put down, but it is a immovable joint normally. Then amphiorthosis, that is the slightly movable joint. The first example, that is syncordosis. The bones are united by a cartilage. There is no cavity between the bones. Hyaline cartilage mostly present over there. Basically, this chondra is the word related with an cartilage. Okay, so syncordosis means fusion of an cartilage. Next, here I think this portion I have left while discussing bone. While developing the bone, they are having three structures commonly used in anatomy: diaphysis, metaphysis, and epiphysis. Diaphysis, it is related middle one, that is the shaft. Epiphysis, they are the endings of that diaphysis, and metaphysis, they are the ending of that diaphysis. Diaphysis, if you are just considering the long bones, okay, to the middle portion, that is diaphysis. The endings, they are the metaphysis, and the upper segment, that is the upper and the lower segment, mean head and the lower part, it is formed by the epiphysis. So these are the structure which are present when there is the formation of an bone. And in metaphysis and epiphysis, there is a plate called as an epiphyseal plate. Okay, when there is the formation of an bone, there is an elongation or the elongation of an metaphysis, not diaphysis. Diaphysis just remains same. There is a elongation of metaphysis, means the end of an that diaphysis, and there is a fusion of that epiphyseal plate with metaphysis after the completion of complete formation of an bone. So here this is epiphyseal plate, and here also the cartilaginous one. So this is included in syncardosis. They are also the same. They are sternum, just aside of an sternum laterally, there is a cartilages present over there, and after the cartilage, they are the limbs. So this is all about the syncardosis. Then symphysis. Basically, symphysis, here the fusion into a pad of fibrocartilage, means here in the vertebral column, we can see just here in between two vertebrae, there is a fat like structure, fat fibrocartilageous structure called as a band over there. So this is related with the symphysis, and these are the slightly movable joints, so we can just bend our back. Okay, and as the age progresses, we're having bulging of an disc. We can just go with an report of MRI and CT scan. You can just find out that terminology: bulging of discs, degeneration of bones, osteophytes. The osteophytes means these angles of an vertebrae just having an prolonged elevations, that is called as an osteophytes. Here they are the ribs, fibrocartilaginous pad. So this is related with symphysis. So these are two slightly movable joints. Slightly movable joint. Then the last one, that is diarthrosis. They are the freely movable joints, movable articulations. All the joints which are freely movable, they are included in the diarthrosis. These are also called as synovial joints, because in this joint there is a synovial cavity and a synovial membrane present over there. Basically, this is the structure of an synovial joint. When we will discuss our first joint, I will just explain what is the exact structure of a synovial joint. Just look at terminology over here. What are the structure present in a synovial joint? That is the articulating cartilage, then synovial cavity, articulating capsule, synovial fluid, reinforcing ligament, then fats, bursa, and tendon. Bursa means they are the fluid filled spaces present in between the muscles or the tendons, and like that. They are actually having 4 types of bursa present over there. I'm having a picture right here for explaining this thing. This is the bursa, and this having a function to just resist a movement of an any joint. means for resistance from the friction. Then they're having shock absorbing functions over there, means we just have a jerk to a joint. So most of the joints having this bursts over there. They are the fluid filled spaces, means they're having a cavity, having a fluid or the fat present over there. So just having the bursa. Then these are the limbs, then the bones, and this is the cavity present over there. So these all structure present in all synovial joints we're going to discuss in the latter section. So this is all about joints. This is the next. This is the types of a joint. Synovial joint, that is uniaxial, biaxial, triaxial. Means uniaxial, they can just move in one direction. Biaxial, they're just moving in two directions. Triaxial, they can move in all directions. So just having an example of this, first in uniaxial, that is hinge joint and a pivot joint. They are the plane joint, first one. They are having an articulating flat surfaces. When we are just discussing the first movement, that is the gliding movement, that's like a to and fro. So when two surfaces of the bone, just flat one, so having a plane joint, because they are having a plane section. Then next, a hinge joint. They are just similar to the hinge of our doors. They're having a plate attached to the door for the movement of unidirectional. They are the hinge joints. The example of an elbow, they're having a unidirectional movement. It is an example of an hinge joint. Next, a pivot joint. Pivot joints, just look at this picture, having a rounded head to the one bone, and it fits into the sleeves of another bone. So this is a pivot joint. You are having an example over here, that is the ulna and the radius. Here, this is the annular ligament which is present or attached to the ulna, and also having the attachment to the head of an radius. When you are just going to discuss this ligament, we will see the picture again. So this is the example of an pivot joint, means having a bone fits into the sleeves of another bone. Then condylar or the ellipsoid joint. Here, the oval surface of one bone fits into the depression of another surface, means having convex concavity structure over here. A condyle or ellipsoid means one structure having a ellipsoid shape, another structure having a concave shape, and they are just fit with each other. So these condyles are present over the femur and the tibia for forming the knee joint. So this is the condylar joint or ellipsoid joint. Again, they are having the same called as a saddle joint. Basically, it is present in the thumb. So it having convex and concave surface at both the bones. Means in here, condyle, it having a bone having one bone having a depression, one bone having a elevation. But in a saddle, one having a convexity and another having a concavity. So they are just fixed with each other. That is the saddle joint. Then ball and socket joint, one having a shape of head, a rounded head, and they are fits in a cup-like structure with another bone. Most of the shoulder joint, hip joint, they are the example of an ball and socket joint. One bone having a rounded elevation, another bone having a depression, cup-like structure. This is the ball and socket joint. This is all about the joints. Means it is classified into first three: fibro, cartilaginous, and synovial. Then there are synarthrosis, amphiarthrosis, diarthrosis, and as per their movement, they are again classified into the various segments. Then last one, I am having 3 minutes again. I am just explaining the terminology regarding the muscles. Last one, which are having regarding the muscular system, that is origin, insertion, belly, tendon, aponeurosis, and the hyping. These are the terminologies mostly commonly used in while studying the muscles. First one, origin, the portion which is fixedly attached, that is called as an origin, fixedly attached of a muscle. Then the portion which is movable, that is the insertion. The portion in between this two structure which is having a fleshy mass over there, called as a belly. Tendon, it is the insertion of an in a thread-like structure, that is the tendon. Aponeurosis, it is the just flat tendons called as an aponeurosis. Raphe, they are present in the muscles for division or the partition of these muscles. Okay, so this they're having 3 types of muscles. First one, cardiac. This muscle, as per the name cardia, it is present in the cardiac region or the heart. and this is involuntary. We have not having a control of these muscles, so it is involuntary. Next, visceral or the smooth muscles, as per the name visceral. Viscera means organ. So these muscles are present in an organ, means for the digestive system, respiratory system, vessels, eyes. They're having a muscles called as a visceral. Last one, that is the, this is also involuntary. We do not have any control of these muscles. Then last one, that is the skeletal muscles. It having a voluntary control with us, and these are present, most abundantly present to the all attached to the bones, and they are helpful for moving movement of an body and all. So functions of the muscles: attachment to the bones, providing the voluntary movements during contraction and provide the heat and energy. Means the muscles which are present visceral within the viscera, that is the visceral muscle, having the sphincters for the contractions, having the peristaltic movement for the movements of an bowel which are present in the intestine. So that is related with the muscles only, help to maintain posture. This is the important structure. If you have having a strong muscles or present in a body, so this is maintaining our posture, and some having the function to protect the internal organs. Then fascia, they are the just covering of an muscles. First one, tendon, I just explained that the strong tough connective tissue just for the connection or for the insertion of an muscle. Then fascia, that's just covering of an muscle. Then origin, it is fixed fixed one. Then insertion, the end of muscle that attached to the bone that moves where the muscle end. Then next, the characteristics of an muscle, they are contracted, they are extensible, they are having the elastic property, and they are having a tone. So this is the characteristics. Again, this we will just going to discuss this in the later section, because these are in a control of nerves, and we will discuss this again in the nervous system also, which nerves performing or supplying to the which muscles. So these are the characteristics. They are going to contract, they are going to just extend, they're having elasticity and irritability for the response to stimuli. And again, these are the movements regarding the muscles, that is abduction, adduction, means adduction towards the body, abduction away from the body, flexion, extension, and the rotation, having the same movements as that of bones. These are separate movements, that is the sphincters, which I just explained. We have a cardiac sphincter and pyloric sphincter over the stomach for the contraction and the relaxation. Means we are just getting a food, we're having a cardiac sphincter over there for the control of that incoming diet. Then when they are releasing the cardiac, just enter into the stomach, so that is related with an movement of an muscles. Then elevators just lift a body, depressor just going lower the part of an body. Supination, pronation, again it is related with the ligament and the joints. Lastly, muscle tone, this terminology used for the partial contracted in all times, even they may not be in used contraction. And the last terminology which is used in a muscle, that is myology. Myo related with muscle, ology, that is related with the study of an muscles. Means myology, it is combinedly called as a study of an muscle. This is all about the terminology which is used in a bones, joints, muscles, and commonly terminology used in anatomy. Thank you.
Would like to have a reference material for the same. I think it is available in that book of Chaurasia.
No, basically this is used. This is mentioned in the BDC.